We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people. Today's episode is going to be on fire safety. It's that time of the year where we live, and we are both extremely aware of what do we do in case of. The first thing that I'm going to share with all of you is there are different websites, and actually what we're going to do is we're going to post it in the show notes. There is an evacuation checklist for your horses that at the beginning of fire season, I get it out and I look at all of my supplies and make sure that I have medical supplies. I have copies of my horse's documents. Here in Nevada, we're required to have lifetime brand inspections when we're traveling with our horses. In other states, they accept the bill of sale as proof of ownership. Their medications, whatever special needs that your horse may have, pack those up. I even will have an extra supply. So I'm using what I use throughout the day on a regular routine. And then I have what I call a go bag. I'm a part of the Sheriff's Mounted Posse here in our community, and we do large animal evacuations. And it is really important that in the event of a fire and evacuation, that you have an ability to mark your horse. Because if you're not the one taking your horse off your property, they need to know, where did this horse come from? So what we do is we carry grease pens. They're livestock grease pens. You can get at Tractor Supply, Cow Ranch, order online. Some people will use spray paint, but what you want to do in big numbers is put your phone number on the side of your horse, because you'll get it off eventually. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. And there's a company out there called EquestriSafe that makes ID bands. She's an entrepreneur. She's a small business that's doing great things. We have all of our horses here on our property wear bands around their fetlocks that have my phone number on them. So in the event that I'm not here, my horses have to be cut loose. Some of my horses are wild Mustangs. So if I can't put them in the middle of my pastures where we have enough defensible space around that the firefighters can protect them, or cut them loose and send them across the street where we have irrigated pastures, I need to know that they will be identified. So all my pairs of wilds, at least one of them has a band on their leg.
And these bands are attached by Velcro, so anything you put on your horse, you want it to break away. That's very important. I also have one of these bands that I use anytime I bring MJ off the property, and they're fantastic.
They break away at 100 pounds. So they're super sturdy. I have to replace them. I have horses that wear them year round, and I have to replace them every 6 years because the Velcro in the sun and the rain and the snow, they get weak. But yeah, they're great.
Well, I want to first talk about the Watch Duty app. It's available on Android and iPhone. My husband and I both have it. And it's new this year. It's a nonprofit. It is pulling fire information from all kinds of different management areas, and taking it all together and putting it somewhere where it's notifying you right away. So I'm in a little different situation because my horse lives 45 minutes away from me and she's not even in the same county that I'm in. And so I'm signed up for all of her community alerts. I'm in the suburbs, so I'm not particularly worried about us. But this Watch Duty app is amazing because, like, before I had the Facebook groups that I checked and the fire pages and the this and the that, this is all coming on my phone immediately. And I have it set to, within a certain mile radius around her, where no matter what the size of the fire is, I'm getting notified because a lot of those websites that are notifying you, they're not putting notifications out until the fire is of a certain size. So we have downloaded this app. It's free and it's amazing to be able to watch fire sizes, get the evacuation maps, see everything as it's unfolding in real time. They post pictures from the fire cams so you can see the smoke plumes and everything. It's given me a lot of peace of mind because I've had a lot of fears of like, I'm not going to find out that there's a fire until it's a big fire and I want to know when there's a little fire. So highly recommend downloading this app.
I agree. I'm going to download it now that you've told me about it. And with, there's a lot of people in your situation, Laura, where they're counting on that boarding facility to be prepared. So that's another thing that we recommend you do is talk to your boarding facility and even ask if they don't have a plan, ask for a monthly get together where you can all talk about a plan. You can find people, there's local organizations, your fire department, your livestock or agricultural department should be able to have somebody come in and do a talk for you to let your boarding facility know what needs to be done. I'm going to even put this out there. If you are boarding at a boarding facility that does not have a plan and you want to know a plan, get together with the owner and have a talk with them and let Laura and I know. We would be more than happy to do a Zoom call with all of you to go over the list of things to do that prepares you for that emergency. Because what makes the difference between a successful outcome with a fire in your area and not a successful outcome is the degree of preparation done prior to the emergency. So making sure your horse can be caught.
In a more high stakes situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we do, I learned this when I was going through horsemanship school, but we actually do it. I'm large animal evacuation trained, and we actually do it in training, is we will bring all our horses to a training. And we will turn them out in various ways where we know they're safe and they're not going to fight and there's not all that going on. But we are assigned to go catch other people's horses because our horses are used to having us catch them, but they're not necessarily, and in some ways I prefer that they don't let just anybody catch them, right?
Yes.
But we need to know that our horses will let anybody catch them. And not only anybody, but somebody that's got a sense of urgency. The one of the most important things to do in an emergency is stay calm. Not easy.
The more you prepare, the more you'll be able to stay calm. You don't want your brain trying to formulate a plan in a fast emergency. You want your brain accessing the plan that you have in place and is there and going to work.
So it's kind of laying down that muscle memory, like they did at school.
Mm-hmm.
We had the emergency drills. So in my go bag, and this would be the checklist, but in my go bag, I have a spare halter and a lead rope. I have Banamine and Bute and bandages, and I have Vetricin eye gel and eye wash. I have essential oils. My favorite is Revive's Breathe Easy, which supports their respiratory system if they've gone through any kind of smoke like that. I will have a list of my horse's names and their colors and my information, my husband's information. I have copies of their lifetime brand inspections in there. I have a beach towel and I have a spare bra. I actually prefer to get, I'm not super endowed, but I have friends that are super endowed. So I say, don't throw your bra away. Can I have at least one? Because sometimes when a horse is panicked, you can't get them to go forward. But if we put a bra works great as a way to cover their eyes to safely get them from point A to point B. And people are like, well, my horse isn't going to move if they can't see. This is, again, something you play with in your groundwork, playing, desensitizing, putting that on and leading them around. It's trust, but it also, horses literally calm down when they can't see something that's scary for them. Now, I'm not saying to do this in regular training. The only time that a bra is applied to a horse's eyes is in the case of an emergency, period. But that doesn't mean you can't practice it.
Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever looked at your horse and wondered if they're thriving in your care? Is there more you can do to give them the best life possible? Most ranches and boarding facilities are set up for convenience, not horse health, but there's tons you can do to fix your horse's situation if you're willing to get creative. Join Evidence-Based Horsekeeping, my Facebook group where members learn how to improve the mental and physical well-being of their horses. The link is in the show notes. Right, you're not using it to get your horse to do what you want because you have a training issue.
Yeah.
You're using it to save their life.
In my go bag, I also have my needs, snacks, water, identification, emergency phone numbers, because if I'm the one that's hauling my horse, I'm as much at risk as they are. Anything else you would put in there?
Well, let's just talk about, what's your plan? So if you have a truck and trailer, like my truck has a check engine light on right now, and that's probably not a big deal. And I'm going to call the shop. If they can't fix my truck same day, I won't fix it until fire season is over. I will not have my truck pulled apart this time of year. I can drive with a check engine light on and that's fine. Ideally that's not happening during fire season and you've gone through your checklists and your tires are good, like things are ready to go. You don't have a trailer with flat tires that's sitting there that hasn't moved in 6 months or a year. If you don't have a trailer, who are you going to call that has one? And have you had a conversation with that person so that they know? Is it possible for you to have a couple friends? And when you take your horse out, where are you going with those horses? So you can always, if it's a big fire, there's going to be a fairgrounds, there's going to be a community setup place. That's my last resort because your horse is going to be getting fed whatever hay is donated. So their diet's going to be changing and your horse is going to be surrounded by freaked out animals of unknown vaccination histories. And so disease runs through those places like crazy. And if you have to go there, you go there. But if you can think about it ahead of time, and you have a couple friends in different areas, because depending on which direction the fire is going, you may or may not be able to go to your friend's house. Have those conversations, make those calls, have those phone numbers ready in your back pocket. Go there if you can.
I have them in my phone.
Yeah.
Where I would go, who I would call. I have 13 horses here and a 3-horse trailer. So the times that we have had a fire nearing us where we were on that, let's get them out of here now. Because I belong to the posses, I call all my posse friends and get them all here. So if you're in a boarding facility and you don't have a trailer of your own, or you do, a fun thing to do in preparation, and this is actually something we do in the spring. So a lot of these things that we're talking about, we do before fire season gets here.
Right.
But because we're just now recording this and we're kind of in the middle of fire season, get on it now. But what we do and we recommend in our community at boarding facilities is everybody who has a trailer, you set up a trailer play day. And everybody brings a potluck and drinks and all these kind of things. And we line up trailers. Sometimes we'll do it in a circle like the old Western days when the wagons circled around, or we will do them in a line. And every horse goes in every trailer with multiple different horses and multiple different people. And it's just a trailer loading practice play day because my horses are used to my trailer, but they're not used to trailers that have I travel in a stock trailer because I move so many wild horses that's just safer. So when I go to put my horses in a trailer with divides, they're worried. So playing with that, having fun, making these preparation days fun and get together. And if you're like in a small, well, I board at my friend's house because she's got room for 4 horses and she only has one, and she's in a neighborhood with other horses, get together and have a neighborhood trailer loading potluck. Let's get together. What are we going to do?
Yep.
In case of emergency day.
Another thing that I'm very aware of is, what if I can't get my trailer into my horse because my trailer's at my house and my horse is at my boarding facility? It's a mile, very easy mile walk that we ride that trail multiple times a week. We know it with our eyes closed. If I had to, her and I would go down that trail. There's a gas station at the end of it where I could get my trailer to. Know all your different routes and what it would take to get out with them.
And if you've gotten the alert on your phone that there's a fire in your area, don't wait until it's mandatory evacuation.
Do not.
Please. We, as large animal rescuers, we get notified as soon as it becomes voluntary evacuation. Or we get notified if somebody calls in and says, I want to get my horses out of here. I don't want to leave my house until I know my horses or my goats or my whatever are safely out of here. That's ideal because those large animal rescuers are putting their lives on the line to save your animals. Don't wait until it's mandatory evacuation thinking that you guys are gonna wait it out. If you want to stay in your home, that's your choice. But get your horses out of there as soon as they say it's voluntary evacuation. We have had calls at midnight as it's just flipped to mandatory evacuation for us to go in and get their horses out. We have had people call us to get their wild Mustangs out, but didn't tell us that we were going in to get wilds. So you have to think about the people who are rescuing your animals for you if you don't have the ability. One of the biggest, most heartbreaking things that we face as emergency rescuers is getting there and finding out the horse won't let us catch it or it won't trailer load. We are trained, and it's a rule that we have to abide by. We will give that horse 3 attempts to get in the trailer, and then we have to leave it behind. And I'll tell you what, it breaks my heart. I leave there sobbing, but I know 2 properties down, there's 4 more horses that need to be rescued, and they will get in the trailer. So please, if you can't do it, call somebody like Laura or I before you need us, because we no more want to leave your pet behind than you want us to.
And you're not being a hero by staying.
No.
Cal Fire doesn't want to see your face. They don't want to see your horse's face. Cal Fire doesn't want to see Cindy's face because you were slow on the call.
We have literally gone in to ranches out in open property. You know, we live at the base of the Sierra Mountains, so we drive in on dirt roads 2 miles in, and we gather as many animals as we can, only to have to drive through a wall of fire to get ourselves out. And it's not because the fire department, we don't go in unless the fire department gives us clearance to go in. That's the first thing. If they say you're not going in, it's too dangerous, we can't go in. But if they give us the go ahead, we've got to get in, grab them, and get out. And you never know. There's the wind, and then there's the fire wind. The firestorm, I believe, is what they call it. And that can switch in a moment's notice.
They can move up to 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. So what we really want you guys to take away from this is those who survive fires are the ones who took the time to be prepared. And when we have livestock that are counting on us, it's the best we can do to prepare them and to have all their potential needs met. And as a veterinary technician, I'm going to tell you that your horse can go without that special diet for 24 to 48 to 72 hours, as long as it has hay and water. Is it going to mess with its intestinal tract? Yes. Every evacuation center has 1 or 2 veterinary staff volunteers on site. What they can't go without is food, is hay, water, and their medications. So don't be worried
you don't
about
need your grain and your supplements. That's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't need that. They need the very basics to survive. And I really want to drive home that if you're new to horses and you're new in the community and your barn doesn't have a plan and they don't seem approachable, you've mentioned it or you're uncomfortable mentioning it, reach out to us.
Yeah.
I don't care what part of the state or countries you're in, reach out to us because we are more than happy to reach out and say, hey, we can help you be the best prepared you can possibly be. And we'll have in the show notes the way to contact us. Part of what we do on our podcast and in the businesses that we do is we're here to help you.
Yeah, and we want you to feel like you have resources. It's just an unfortunate culture in the horse community that boarders shouldn't stir the pot. Boarders should be comfortable bringing issues forward. Our horses will not be let out because they are right against Highway 50, and we have all decided that we will not put human life at risk by allowing our horses to end up on the interstate. They will be put into a very large arena that will be heavily sprinkled before they go in, a wet arena, and the fire will go around them. And that is, we are talking worst case scenario. Best case scenario, my phone dings Wednesday morning and I go get my horse and she's well gone and the fire doesn't get to us until Friday.
You bring up such a good point, Laura, about that. What happens if you can't get them out? Yes, put them in the most defensible space area, water it down, and that's the best that you can do.
Yes.
But what we haven't talked about is if you keep your horse at home, make sure you have defensible space, which means 2 to 3 feet around your property, you have cut and removed vegetation. We have a local tree company here that is also fire prevention, and we have them come into our ranch every 2 to 3 years and say, what am I missing? What do I need to do for defensible space? Because when the fire department comes in, they are going to save the places that they can save, which means those who have defensible space. The ones who are all super overgrown and you haven't done your yard maintenance, they're not going to risk their firefighters, and they want to save
resources.
As many structures as they can possibly save. And if you have your horse at your own place or you board somewhere, make sure you're boarding where there's defensible space. If they haven't, ask them, can we have a work party day where all the boarders come in and help you and have a potluck and have fun? And Everybody likes to put fans in the barn to keep their horses cool this time of the year, to keep the dust down, to keep the lungs clear. But you have to make sure your fans are dust free. You have to make sure that the mice haven't eaten the cords.
And you want a barn grade fan. You do not want a dollar store fan. They are built differently because they know those fans are going to be exposed to a lot of dust and can be a fire risk.
And when Laura and I were talking, she mentioned the refrigerator. All the barns have refrigerators and we all get busy. When was the last time the refrigerator was pulled out, unplugged, and had all of the dirt and cobwebs and sometimes mice love to get in the back of the refrigerator on the ground and build their nest because it's warm for their babies.
And they're pulling that dry horse bedding back there.
Yeah, so make sure that that's being pulled out and cleaned because barn fires, 90% of the barn fires that happen are due to electrical fires. Sometimes you'll get hay combustion, which is why we store our hay up on pallets. And then I don't like to board. When I boarded, I didn't board where there were people who smoked.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Times have changed. So few people smoke now.
Yeah, but back in the day
back
when I had to
yeah,
board,
yeah.
everybody, including myself, smoked.
Yeah.
But I would not board where there was smokers. And I go to some of these facilities where some of the ranch managers or ranch hands are smoking. And I'm like, ooh, boy, I would not. That would be a no-go. Oh, heat lamps, don't do
Oh,
it.
don't do it.
Your
For any
horses don't need it. If they have chickens,
Big chickens don't need it. Chickens survive at negative 20 degrees
give them lots of bedding inside a small.
area.
And actually, Laura is the chicken queen, not me.
But I'm telling you, no, your chickens do not need a heat lamp. Your baby goats, bring them inside, put them in the bathtub, whatever. It is not worth it. Our local hometown farm raises goats and their barn burnt down with their baby goats inside because of a heat lamp, and it was the saddest thing in the world. You don't want that to be your day. What we've really talked today in our very conversational format about is having a multi-step plan. So, my plan number one is to roll out and get my horse and get her somewhere safe and go back and keep moving border horses until everybody's out.
If you can.
If I can.
And another thing that what I advise is, which is what we do in our posse for rescue, is we have a calling tree.
Yeah.
So
we have a text where everybody's on it.
Right. In the event that there's an emergency, we try to get everybody staged so that everybody leaves together, because the horse, that if you're leaving and taking multiple routes, one, you may not get back in because they let you in. And two, those horses that are getting left behind, by the time you try to go get them, they may be frantic.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing this just to drive it home. Last summer, we had 2 horses die of heart attacks trying to get into the trailer because they were so freaked out. So that's not a scare factor. It's just a reality factor that preparation is going to be key to all of this. Fire drills. Remember when we were all in school, had the fire drills, and we had to go single file, and we had to walk out, and all the teachers knew exactly where they were taking their group?
Yep.
It's the same thing.
Yes.
Preparation is your savior.
And the multi-step plan, because we know that you might not get hours or days. If you are unlucky, I mean, gosh, the people of Paradise were having a normal day, and in 15 minutes they were consumed in flames.
And what happens if you're out of town?
Right. That's another thing. If I'm out of town, my trailer is hitched to my truck, and somebody who I know and trust has the key.
My truck and trailer stay hooked up year round. And when I'm out of town, I will call. There's 2 people that I trust to do the best they can with the horses I have. And I call them and say, I'm leaving town. This is my pet sitter's name, and she knows to call you in the event of an emergency. And so they know that I'm not home. So if something happens, they're already, oh God, that's in Cindy's area. Here's her pet sitter. I need to call her.
How
So
many miles do you think apart you and I, well, I'm Shingle Springs, Placerville, you are from there?
me from you,
Yeah.
I am probably about between 2 and 2.5 hours, depending on which way I go.
But it is, yeah, a lot of miles.
Mm-hmm.
With the campfire that started
It was here in a matter of a day or two.
5 miles from where my horse is boarded. I'm at home in Alaska. I'm on the phone with my people. You know, you watch this fire for an hour, and if it goes toward us, you get my truck, you get our horses out. 2 days later, my horse, we never moved. The fire never came toward us. Hundreds of miles was knocking on Cindy's doorstep.
Yep. In a matter of 2 days.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's scary. It's scary. It's worse than the flooding.
You know, honestly, we travel as little as possible during fire season because we don't enjoy our vacations as much because we're constantly watching and a little bit worried.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to kind of drive home that this was kind of a somber episode, but we sign up to make these calls when we agree to get a horse. We sign up for the risk, we sign up for the responsibility. So the fact of the matter is you and your horse are unless you get to go to your best friend's house that's 20 miles away and you're totally safe and your horse just thinks you're on vacation and you're on vacation and all's good, you're gonna be in a stressful situation. I assume my horse is gonna colic. I assume my horse is gonna cut herself on undesirable fencing. That's another thing. I keep a package of 50 T-post caps in my trailer because if I end up having to keep my horse somewhere where the fencing isn't super safe, that's a very easy fix that I can make.
That's a great idea. Along with that, I would, I love that idea. I'm going to get that idea. And the other thing that I want to add to that is the construction 1-inch tape that's orange or pink. Get a roll or two of that and put in with your T-post covers. Because if you have a horse that's not used to bob wire,
yeah,
if you go along in between each post and just tie one of those ribbons on the top strand, your horses know they're there at night, or if another horse is chasing them or whatever. That's a great idea, Laura. So as we wrap it up, is there anything that we need to add? Seems like we covered a lot.
We covered a lot.
Oh, one thing. Get your horses used to drinking molasses water.
Mm-hmm.
Because horses are particular about the flavor and the smell of their water. So if you're being evacuated and you may be gone for a while, the way to get your horse to drink strange water is add a little molasses, do this way before you ever need it. Get them used to drinking the molasses water and drinking it out of a handheld bucket. And then I also carry a jar of molasses water. It's 16 ounces, I think, in my go bag so that I can add that into the water. The nice thing about the molasses is it's the equal portion of sugar and salt that electrolytes have in it. So you can add that to your water and help keep your horses hydrated.
You know, another thing we didn't talk about is microchipping. I keep my horses microchipped, and a lot of people argue against microchips because they say, well, it's not the first thing people check, and it's not. But it goes back to having that multi-step plan. You have your identification of, you wrote your phone number huge down their side. They have their band on. But if your horse gets out and God forbid runs around for 10 days before you find them, that microchip might be the only thing that's left. And if there becomes an ownership question, my horse is embedded with my name.
Not many brand inspectors, fire department, animal control. I think animal control is the one that's most likely to carry a scanner, a microchip scanner. But like Laura, all of my horses are microchipped. I would put the numbers on in grease pen And if there's ever a question of who that horse belongs to, I can say, scan that horse, he's mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, great point, Laura. Great point. Again, everybody, we are here for any questions that you might have, any help that you might need. Any of you want to get together a group of people, we are more than happy to do a Zoom call on this kind of stuff. That's how important it really is.
Absolutely.
So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together, because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, you can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.